SportzBlitz Live is on the air with full coverage of the Auburn Tigers,
Touchdown Auburn!
the Alabama Crimson Tide,
Off to the inside, intercepted Alabama, touchdown!
and everything college and high school sports. Now, let's join Andy, Brett, Randy, and Luke for this edition of SportzBlitz Live.
Saturday morning, welcome into the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown. I'm Randy Lee alongside Scott Hardy this morning. We'll be here with you until 9 o'clock. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. Each show that we put on the air, Scott has the phone available, and we love answering your questions, hearing your comments, hearing topics that you would like us to concentrate on. Normally, if you're just tuning into this show for the first time, first hour of the program, we talk a lot about high school sports, then we move off. And there's plenty of high school sports to talk about currently. So we'll run down some top 10 rankings and some recruiting rankings here in the state of Alabama here in the first hour this morning. But did want to start the first segment of the show with some of the hotter topics around the state of Alabama. And, Scott, we got an 8A game going on today. We got the Masters across the state line over in Georgia. We got baseballs getting into the culmination of area play in the high school ranks, and then college baseball getting kicked off. Kendall Graveman here locally having a great outing yesterday. I'll let you pick your poison. Which one do you like the best?
Well, Masters would be my topic, but I'll have to go with the hometown kid, Kendall Graveman. Opening day for baseball began on Thursday, and Kendall now moving from the Astros to the Chicago White Sox on a 3-year deal, so will be an integral part of the bullpen there for the White Sox. But Kendall comes in the 6th inning yesterday, runs on first and second, and he gave up. They were up 3-0. He did give up an unearned run there, but ended up going 1.2, finished out the 7th, had a strikeout, so really no damage done. The White Sox bullpen later ended up blowing the lead that they had, but I'm really excited for Kendall in Chicago. They made a move a couple of days ago that they traded away another bullpen piece, and so that elevated him probably from a middle relief guy to really a high leverage guy, probably 7th, 8th inning. But they used him yesterday because they really needed him. So he'll be an integral part to the White Sox, who have a legitimate opportunity to win their first division series or division title in quite some time. Well,
that's great for Kendall, and he has really put the weight on. You know, I saw a video, and, you know, you could really tell it last year. If anything, he's mine and your size, naturally. He's a 180 to 190-pound man normally, and now he's bulked up to 225, and you can tell he's really put the work in, and it's added velocity to his fastball. He's anywhere between 96 and 99 now on a normal basis, whereas even when he left here out of high school, he was an 86 to 87 guy, goes to Mississippi State. You know, he could get it to 93, 94 on a little four-seam, but for the most part, he stayed anywhere from 87 to 91 there at Mississippi State. Has always been a great competitor from a family of athletes. His dad's a tremendous athlete, I remember watching him play softball growing up going, yeah, I think I'd like to play shortstop like him. Great coach as well, so it's no surprise to any of us around here, but, you know, it's kind of like over in Coosa. You're seeing Xavier Moon get his opportunity. Remember talking to you when he was probably a sophomore in high school going, is this cat real? Did he just score 47? Is he averaging 33? Have you seen it with your own two eyes? He has no size at all, does he, Scott?
He's not.
How does he pull it off? You know, I'm thinking back to our conversations and back in the day, but how next to impossible it is to make it to the professional ranks in sports. I'll let you hit on those two.
I mean, just finishing up on Kendall, you talked about the velocity. When he got ready to pitch yesterday, they had a stat that he was in the top 10% of velocity in the majors.
Wow.
So he went from basically from his first year being called up to the next, he went from about 93 to, there were times where he was sitting, 98, 99 consistently, in which he can still get there. But, I think he's honed in how to use his velocity and when it fits best. But he was topping out about 96, 97, and with that sinker he has, I mean, it has so much movement. It's almost one of the more unhittable pitches in the league. But you're speaking about Mr. Moon, and I mean, we talk about people, getting in their bag and being a walking bucket. Well, that is that. Like, he is a pure scorer and can get it off the dribble, can get it in isolation. However he wants to score, he can. And I'm excited for him to have these opportunities that he's been getting. And, I mean, other people around the league see it too. So even if he doesn't stay with the Clippers or what, other teams are seeing how well he's doing. And so he could easily become a player that is a 7th, 8th guy off the bench. And that's saying something. I mean, when a team only has 11 guys, that's saying something that you go get that amount of playing time. So he's got a legitimate chance to be around for a little while.
It tells you how hard he's worked and how much work he's put in. You see his uncle, and his uncle's what, 6'7", 6'8"? Mm-hmm. When you saw him in high school, which I did a few times, you go, no kidding. People want him. He may make it to the NBA. But what's Xavier? Maybe 6'2"?
He 6'2" would be.
That would be giving him the stretch, and then he's very slender, even though he's put on some weight. But I think that just shows that I'm gonna say certain families, certain cultures that you're brought up in, certain work ethics, kind of feed off on you. It's no miracle that 2 members of the same family have made the NBA. And have we ever had anybody else from this region make the NBA?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't think that's just an oddity. I think that's more of a work ethic and something that's getting instilled at home. We should be proud around here. Golly, you talk about a sport that's next to impossible to make it in because it is the worldwide sport now. I mean, I'm more than soccer is a different animal, but soccer is also a lot more opportunities. There are a lot more professional franchises out there around the world in different countries. There's more players playing in each of those, more teams in each of those. To be able to make it up to the NBAs, that's a miracle. It's like Major League Baseball. There is no other Major League Baseball. You make it on those, 31 teams? I mean, if you're good enough to make it on one of those 31 teams like Kendall Graveman we just talked about, it's almost a miracle.
Yeah, and when you talk about the globalization of basketball, it's really started to, over the last decade or so, with the transcending of the European players coming over, it's really globalized the game. And so when Yao came over too, you really could go back 20 years. Yao really, I think, was integral in doing that. But people's favorite player, was Kobe or whoever it may be on a universal level. But when you're seeing like a Joker, or you're seeing I can't even think of
it's early.
It is. I can't think of the Mavericks right now. Gosh, that's going to bother me now. People go kill me for not remembering his name. But I'm saying two of your top 5 players in the league are European players. So that brings in a natural fan base that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So I'm with you there in terms of the opportunities and the globalization of the game. But what Xavier's been able to do is phenomenal. And then you talk about the culture and the work ethic, and I don't know anybody who has worked as hard as Kendall has to get to the point that he has. I mean, you talk about, a 10-mile-per-hour difference. I mean, that's work. Like, you had to put in the work for that. That's just not being gifted. And so seeing what he's been able to do and battling some of the injuries and adversity he's had from Mississippi State all the way to now with the White Sox, it's been a lot of fun to see. And he immediately becomes a fan favorite wherever he is. Like the Astros were very disappointed, the fan base, that they weren't able to keep him because he was a part of the World Series chase last season. But I think the people in Chicago are going to be very excited to have him on their team.
Well, he's one that you want in front of a camera. He's one that you want representing you. Saw his podcast. If you haven't, Rick and Bubba had a podcast with him about a month ago, and it was really, really good. Here's 2 players that I'd like your opinion on as we're just kind of bouncing it around here on the opening segment. But there's 2 guys that I watch on social media, and I go, how do those 2 guys not stay up consistently in the NBA? And one's Xavier Moon, because I look at his stat line, and every league he's in if he's not the best player in the league, he's one of the best players, and Jared Harper. Every time I see Jared Harper out there on the court, I go, well, gosh, how are we the only ones that recognize the value of this guy? Because he puts up stat line on top of stat line, has that killer demeanor. I think I can't give a better compliment than someone that's kind of stoic out there on the court or in any athletic event. You know they're competing, but they're not having to kind of force themselves to get up. They're just highly competitive guys that get after it, and Jared Harper has kind of always been that to all of us Auburn fans. I can't think anybody since maybe Chuck Person, Charles Barkley, Chris Porter, that the Auburn fan base has loved more than Jared Harper. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I mean, you have, what Jabari gets a little we'll see what happens with that, and I think if he does well in the NBA, he'll definitely continue with the fan base there. But Jared Harper, if you've been looking at his numbers, he put on a show the other night in Birmingham. At one point, he was 4 for 4 from the three, and I mean, that was like in the first half. Like I don't know what it would take for somebody to eventually not just give him the 10-day contract and eventually give him a spot on a roster, because he can score, and he's a pretty decent defender too. I mean, that was a part of his game that gets kind of diminished at times because of what he does offensively, but he can shoot the three, he can go to the goal at any point, and he can create opportunities for other people. And I don't know what else you'd be looking for in an NBA point guard. You look at some of these teams that are struggling and may not have the talent at that position that you would hope for to be able to make a successful run. He could help somebody. He could help somebody right now and give you 10 or 12 off the bench.
Yeah, I feel that way too, and I think that both of them are going to get their opportunity, and it feels like the way that they command the attention, demand the attention in the leagues that they play in. I think Xavier had won the Player of the Year in the CEBL for the last couple of years. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, he's been the best player in the league.
Yeah, and that's, and I see them constantly bragging on his efforts in the NBA and wherever he is, because they want to, take claim to developing him to the player that he is. And Jared Harper, much the same. Wherever he is, he's the best player on the court. The ball's through his hands. He's scoring it. He's dishing it. Just a great all-around player. There's another one from Alabama that I've started just loving watch play at times when I get the chance. It's Herb Jones. All-NBA team. I think he's third in the league in steals. He had a highlight reel this week. I don't know if you saw it, but he came from the bottom post. He was a man on the bottom post. There was a three-point shot on the high left wing. He comes from the bottom post, reads the three-point shot, high left wing, comes up, right hand, which he's a lefty, right hand swats it on a three-point shot, gets it to about half court, beats everybody down the court to the ball, and gets the layup on the opposite end. And, I mean, even when a defensive play is made like that, Scott, not too often do you see someone really in the NBA especially come up off the bench and go, what did I just see? I mean, most of the time that's a dunk. Most of the time that's somebody going on their rear end because somebody's crossed somebody over. It's normally not someone getting a shot block behind the three-point arc and a layup on the other end, but Herb Jones is kind of becoming that guy that you want to just watch play defensive basketball.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if he would be able to have a good NBA career, but from the jump, Luke has been adamant about what he'd be able to do in the NBA, and then talking about him throughout the season. I mean, he had a really good season, and you can see now, not necessarily just from a skill set standpoint, but he brings some leadership qualities to the floor now, even as a young player in the league now, and you see how that impacted Alabama's team, not having somebody like that now. But I think it's awesome that we just spent the first 12 minutes of the show talking about basketball for the most part, and showing now how inclusive the sport is really becoming now, and how everybody's really starting to see that that's an avenue. And a lot of that plays with somebody like a Steph Curry, who you don't have to be a 6'7" guy to make it to the NBA, like in Xavier Moon. Yeah, if you can score, you can shoot, which is what the game is now, you have an opportunity to play professionally.
Great point. 256-234-6221 is the phone number. We're up against our first break here on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of Farmers and Merchants Bank of Dadeville is building a foundation of strength and trust in the entire Lake Martin community. With our modern branch in Dadeville and caring, attentive staff, we've established Farmers and Merchants Bank as a reliable friend to your banking needs. Whether it's just a savings or checking account or any commercial, auto, or real estate loan, Farmers has local decision making to build a relationship with you and your needs. Farmers and Merchants Community Bank. Strength, service, community.
Russell Do-It Center and building supply stores have the tools and materials to get the job done right, whether you're a professional contractor or just a weekend do-it-yourselfer. With everyday customer conveniences like a drive-through lumber yard, price match promise, and our Best Rewards program, each of our 9 locations offer top brands and building materials like lumber, hardware, tools, paint, lawn and garden, and much more. Visit today and see what Russell Do-It Center and Building Supply can help you build tomorrow.
Don't be caught in a dirty vehicle. Lake Martin Mobile Detailing will have your vehicle or boat looking like brand new in no time, and you'll be back driving in style. They specialize in detailing, paint correction, gel coat restoration, and ceramic coating. Take it to the professionals at Lake Martin Mobile Detailing. Call them today at 256-794-2328 or stop by and see them at 702 McCarty Road in Dadeville. Mention this ad and receive $10 off. Lake Martin Mobile Detailing for your cleanest vehicles around.
Skag, the toughest name in lawnmowers. Unmatched quality and performance for over 3 decades. The clear choice, the best mower money can buy for work or at home. Top lawn care professionals and discerning homeowners know that Skag means productivity and reliability. Every Skag mower is proudly built right here in the USA. Don't settle for anything less than simply the best. Skag.
Satterfield Outdoor Living on Highway 280 in Alex City.
You want the best opportunity to be successful in life. You deserve that opportunity. Well, you just happens to be in our motto. Central to you, central to your success. Your future is right now. Don't wait. Make your dreams a reality by enrolling at Central Alabama Community College. Register today at cacc.edu.
What's the verdict?
Can't fix your heat pump. Need a new one.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Daikin.
Call on Kevin Kill and Sunshine Heating and Air at 256-825-4849, Central Alabama's premier Daikin dealer.
So what's he thinking?
Oh, he's thinking Daikin.
Daikin, one of the top selling in the world.
Now I'm thinking Daikin.
Daikin. Comfort for life.
Two 256-234-6221 is our phone number this morning. If you'd like to call in, give us a comment on anything going on here in the state of Alabama or sports in general around the country. Scott and I would love to hear from you. On the spring side of things, Scott, there's state championships to be had in a number of sports, which makes this time of year extremely fun for us. There's an opportunity maybe coming down the line where we could do some broadcasting of baseball here in the state, and that's where I'll start. It's a lot of these same programs that we talk about year in and year out, Scott, when it comes to baseball, and the community's buy-in. It feels like the youth are really bought in, and I'll run down just a few of them that I hear more than others. Coleman, Hartselle, Auburn High School, just really right here in this region. Phoenix City's only nemesis is getting through Auburn. If it wasn't for Auburn, I don't know how many Phoenix City would have won. What was Phoenix City, 32 or 33-1 going into the semifinal series with Auburn last year? Is that right?
That's right.
Just, crazy when you think about some of these baseball programs. And Helena, Chelsea. Chelsea hasn't gotten over the hump, but, my good friend and high school teammate Michael Stallings done a tremendous job there at Chelsea High School. That community's totally bought into baseball, and for good reason. Should be, because they win so often. But it's it's kind of easy to see why these communities. You worked actually for the Alabama Sports Foundation for quite a while, and so I'm sure you saw up close and personal some of these communities and how much they invest into youth athletics.
Yeah, and it's we talk about, in football it being the Huntsvilles and the Mobiles, and now obviously Birmingham too, and in soccer you've got the Wiregrass area and up north as well. But in baseball, it was very similar. You had your Lee County and Russell County areas, and then what you see in the Shelby County area as well, and some of your northern teams. But what you were talking about Auburn, and I was having this conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago about how impressive or how good the kids at Auburn right now have to be to play because of the amount of kids that are at the school. So you probably have another 30 kids that could easily be playing somewhere else and can't even make the team because of the amount of kids that they have. So if you're on the team now at Auburn, you have to be good. And so I think that puts an even larger emphasis on what we're trying to do in our community is developing kids at a younger age, because if you don't, you're going to miss the boat. And so for some of these teams to be as successful as they are in the large scale of the school they are, I think even bodes for more impressiveness as you see them develop more hitting for this playoff run.
Well, I think it's a good opportunity for me, to pass along to those that may not know out there the growth of Auburn High School. When I was in school, Benjamin Russell had 750 students in the top three. There's some years down, some years up, but that's on average. Auburn High School at the same time, now this is 96 when I graduated, so 26 years ago. Auburn High School at the same time, 680 students in the top three.
Really?
So Auburn High School had, anywhere between 60 and 80 students in the top three grades, 25 to 30 students per grade, less than we had here in Ellick City. We played Auburn in everything: football, baseball, basketball. Baseball, they had the exact same coach they have now. We had the same coach that we have now. It's wild. They've got to be two of the longest tenured coaches in the state of Alabama. And Coach Semo did a masterful job then with the talent that he had. We played with their guys a lot in summer ball. They'd actually come up here and play with us because I don't think I'm speaking out of term. We had better teams. And so we'd, be able to go and grab their two or three best and put on the group with us and put together pretty much an all-star team for our region. So Coach Semo, who has always been one of the best in the state at coaching hitting, those guys really could swing the bat. They always struggled playing against a team like ours because they didn't have any strong enough arms to compete with us. We'd go get 10 or 12 against them on a bat outing. But they could score it with us, and they were coached up well enough. Well, now you look at Auburn High School. In 26 years, they've gone from 680 students in the top three to 2,200 students in the top three. They've tripled, quadrupled in size. So you take that same great coach, Coach Semo, who I've always thought very highly of, really like the man, and you give him 4 times the amount of players to pick from, and you also add in a region that has become overly passionate about travel sports and travel baseball and knowing the competition level that they have to compete in each and every year just to make a team. You have to, take your level of play up a notch. And but here, I'm not trying to take anything away from him and his program, though. There are a lot of places in the state. There's several places in the state that have had that type of growth that haven't had that much success. Heck, nobody's had as much success as Auburn High School. So it is still a testament to how well he's done. And it also takes a lot of the pressure away. I'm thinking if my kid's not one of the top 2 or 3 in his grade and he doesn't make the team, what am I going to complain about? Am I going to go complain about a coach that's been there 30-plus years, that's won 5 or 6 state championships? You think he just don't like my kid? I mean, are we kidding each other? So, Scott, it's a tough dynamic there and probably a decision that a lot of them have to make.
Yeah, I mean, because it was basically, and I'm not a proponent of specialization in sports. I do think, and maybe you get a little older, maybe okay, but growing up, I think you should play as many as you can, and it just helps you all the way around. That may not be the case at a place like Auburn, where you're gonna have to kind of choose early on what you want to go, so you can put all your resources in ensuring that you have an opportunity to play. I mean, outside of football, everybody can participate in football. That's not as big a thing. But when it comes to basketball, when it comes to baseball, soccer too, you're going to have developmental things happen early on to make sure that you're in a position. If not, you're going to get left behind. And when you're at a place like Auburn or when you're playing a sport like baseball or soccer, where it's a pretty expensive sport to play and be a part of, if you're in a place like Auburn, that helps as well, because a lot of the people that are participating in these sports are coming from affluent families, so it helps them get ahead too. So that's where one of those things where money should never matter, but it kind of does in these scenarios, because you have to have some type of resources to get your kid in front of the right places, go to the right showcases, get the right hitting coach, pitching coach, whatever it may be. So I think, again, we're seeing how profitable sports can be, and not just as a professional, but for some of these coaches and types of things. I think that it only is going to continue to grow as these communities grow.
Yeah, it's the reason, I know we're up against a break, but it's the reason that I'm such a fan of those that try to help, kids that need the resources and need the help and have the talent, to give them the opportunity to possibly compete, because it has changed so drastically since you and I were in school. You take baseball when I was growing up. All we had was Dixie Youth Baseball. We played against one another. We did have very big leagues. I'll say that now. I do think the specializing has knocked that down tremendously. And it is because guys realize very young, and girls as well, softball works maybe harder than the baseball side.
I agree.
My coworker Josh Brewer does a tremendous job with travel softball. It is a passion, and they stay after it constantly. So they work equally as hard as what goes on with baseball. But, you take a league of 11 and 12-year-olds here in Ellick City when I was growing up, maybe had 10 to 12 teams that's now got 3 or 4. And I do think it's because of specialization, but it's changed everywhere. And you can either go and stick your head in the sand and think that those times are coming back. They're not. Back then, you just played your regular league ball growing up against one another. You went to All-Stars. You tried to go compete against some of these programs like Phoenix City and Tallahassee and others here in our local community, and you kind of weighed where you were then. And then maybe when you get 15 years old, there'll be a Babe Ruth program or an American Legion program around you where you can go play travel ball and play 50 or 60 games a year. There was none of this travel circuit at that point. That's only 25 years ago. I don't feel like I'm that old yet. I'm not giving it up just yet, Scott. But times have changed. You either get on the bus with them or you get left behind. And nobody's done it. Well, the reason we went down this dirty path, nobody's done it better in Auburn and the city of Auburn and the community and Coach Semo and that entire program. They're the standard here in the state of Alabama when it comes to top-tier baseball, and we'll see if it works out that way. I'm sure there's somebody in Phoenix City that would like to throw darts at me right now, and there's some people over in Coleman that go, yeah, they're just a little bigger than us, but they do it no better than us, and you're probably right. They probably don't. But in our neck of the woods, they're the standard when it comes to baseball. We're up against another break here on the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Growing your business isn't just one thing. It's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, your compact equipment provider.
WOTM is the television provider for all Alabama High School Athletic Association championship events and special programs. WOTM is your home for the Super 7 football, state finals basketball, baseball and softball state championships, the AHSAA weekly show, and WOTM also produced the first ever football playoff show, Super 7 preview show, and reclassification reveal show. Your exclusive home for all things AHSAA is WOTM. Contact your local cable provider to request WOTM to your channel lineup.
You want the best opportunity to be successful in life. You deserve that opportunity. Well, you just happens to be in our motto, central to you, central to your success. Your future is right now. Don't wait. Make your dreams a reality by enrolling at Central Alabama Community College. Register today at cacc.edu.
Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center provides optimum care for the whole person. Dr. Dimo Popov specializes in the prevention and diagnosis of high blood pressure, kidney disease, diabetes, and acute and chronic conditions. Our weight loss clinic offers lipo shots and a guide to healthy weight loss. Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center, where lifestyle changes are made.
When the Lake Martin area wants country, it turns to Kalijah Country 97.5. Lake Martin's best country.
Goes like 1 margarita, 2 margarita, 3 margarita shot.
And if the house just keeps on winning, I got a wild card up my sleeve.
I wish grandpa's never died.
Lake Martin's best country is on Kalijah Country 97.5.
Re-elect Richard LeGrand Sr., Lee County Commissioner, District 5. Why? Work with the Beauregard community with the EF4 tornado devastation to sort through debris, help restructure lives for the people that lost homes, establish Juneteenth as a paid holiday in Lee County. A playground at Lochapoka to include 4 acres with a playground, service, organized trash collection on Lochapoka roadsides. Whether you vote absentee ballot or you go to the polls, please re-elect yours truly, Richard LeGrand Sr., Lee County Commissioner, District 5. Paid for by friends of Richard LeGrand Sr.
For more than 40 years, Ingram Equipment Company has helped companies, towns, and cities with their dirtiest, most challenging jobs by providing the very best equipment and by helping them keep in tip-top working condition. IEC represents leading manufacturers such as Heil garbage truck bodies, Timco sweepers, Step pothole patchers, and many more. We proudly support all athletes and teams that compete across the state and wish them good luck this year. Ingram Equipment Company, ingramequipment.net.
Welcome back into the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown, 256-234-6221. Did you have the opportunity to watch our Fife documentary on Hometown Heroes?
I've seen bits and pieces, and I haven't been able – I've almost watched it, the whole thing, but I've had to watch it in bits and pieces. Every time we put one out, I think he's saying, "Oh, this is the best one." This was probably – I'm not going to say it was the best, but it was my favorite one that I've seen. I mean, to highlight what we've been talking about for the last half decade and to see it actually how it came and where they started from.
Yes.
And the level of commitment from those in the community and the coaching staff and saying, you know what, we're just not going to we're not doing this anymore. We're going to win a state championship, and whatever has to take place for that to happen, we're going to do it. And so I think that that's a very motivational and reflective way or reflection of how you can build a program and the community support that's needed for that to take place.
I think as we just did a whole segment before on Coach Semo and the Auburn baseball build-up, that would be a great documentary for us to do as they continue their success under him 30-plus years. And that's part of what we try to tell with our Hometown Heroes documentaries. If you've got great stories out there, it can be individual stories. You know, we did one that was – on a terrible accident for Rod Scott from Robert E. Lee. And, he's a great basketball player, a big-time leader in that community, and had the accident and lost his life, unfortunately, without a seatbelt on in the back seat. And they'd have new law enacted, and I think the law is named after him. So that was one of our documentaries. And I bring that one up because it was really on an individual more than it was a program. But this Fife one, had a lot of people come up to me and want to talk about this Fife one because they are in a portion of the state and they're a size team in the state where if you didn't grow up there or if you don't compete against them, you don't know what in the heck you're talking. Like, what are you talking about? Who are they? why are they as good as they are? And I thought this 30-plus minute documentary spotlighted how special they are, especially in an age where coaches, I'm going to throw coaches out there at the top of the list, but coaches, administrators, leaders in community want glitz and glam. They want to be able to go to a whiteboard and talk about how smart they are. And to watch, and you and I know Danny Horn real well. So we've been already around that type of mentality where, I don't know if I know all that. I do know this. And I'm pretty good at teaching this. I'm kind of talking like Danny now. And he is. He's one of the best that's ever done it. And one of the best people that's ever done it too. But Fife one felt like that to me because they were winning 10 to 11 games a year in the wing T, and they'd always been a wing T formation team under Benefield. And he said, here's who we are. We can't throw it really. I mean, we don't throw it real well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put 11 men on the line of scrimmage, and we're going to go in the weight room, and we're going to get so strong, and we're going to make life playing us on Friday night so miserable for everyone that plays us that we're going to impose our will on you in the third and fourth quarter. And they've done nothing but that since, Scott.
Yeah, and I love the spread offense, and I love, seeing skilled players get out and go for 10 for 100 yards. I love all that. But I grew up with
sure
that.
Did.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
my memories of high school football really, I can remember the Sav days, but 4th, 5th grade is when Lasmy was here. And, if we threw the ball 7 times, it was a miracle. So I didn't know anything but that. And, to see how that can actually win you games, and you can talk about classification. I don't care. I know it probably bodes a little bit better for a lower classification to do that. But those are some grown men out there who are saying, you know what you're saying, we're going to be tougher than you, mentally tougher too, because we know nothing that you're going to show us on Friday can be any harder than what my coach just put me through for the last 4 days. So you're going to have to show me something better. And to see it work so consistently and at such a high level too. They don't have down years. Like, down years for them is not winning the state championship.
10-2.
Yeah, so
losing in the quarters or something like that. Yeah. That's a down year.
And we have had some of that. We've had that type of success here before. So I get what that means is, when you're getting 10, 11 wins, like, that's nothing to, laugh at. But what Fife has been able to do, man, is just unreal. And, me and Brett laugh at it every Friday or Saturday morning when we would go over the scores, like, how bad did they beat this team? It takes a special type of team to beat them. But I thought the documentary was well done, and I think that this just highlights the type of stories that are available out there. And there's 15 more Fifes out there. Maybe not like that, but there's other communities and other stories that we'll have a chance to highlight as well. But this one was very well done.
Hometown Heroes, AHSA Radio Network. Find us out there. You can find us on all the social media outlets, WOTM, television dial that you're watching currently. We'll be running that documentary from time to time, so tune in to that. And it's the Devil's Reign, the Red Devil's Reign. Fife, winners of multiple state championships over the last 10 years, reeling off 50-plus wins in concession, most of those by 40-plus points, just running teams out of the gym, as we say, and beating them up. So we'd like to hear from you if you've got stories out there in your community that we need to cover. Our next one coming up, Scott, Thompson Wrestling.
All right, so I just want to remember, we had not discussed this, but when we were going to the break, I was going to ask, are we at a point, has it been going on long enough that you could do a Thompson documentary? I was about to ask you during the break, so I think that's great.
We have already shot a good portion of the footage on Thompson's wrestling program. And, the unique part of that story is I think that it spearheaded a resurgence of athletics at Thompson High School all the way around. It was the sport where you and I sitting up here talking about high school athletics here in the state go, gosh, did you realize you could do that at Thompson over in Alabaster, that you could take a program from not having a program to all of a sudden a community buying in the way that they did, like they did with wrestling, and the next thing you know, they're winning every state championship, and the only time that they're not is when the 16-time state champion from Vestavia High School was able to come through and after all of their storied history of wrestling, win one from time to time, but for the most part it's Thompson winning year in and year out. Could you have believed that? And Scott Alden never believed it. And I don't think a lot of people would have ever believed what Mark Freeman has done with the football program. And you can continue down the line with that. But it's a great story. It's one that we're hoping to tell, and it's one that you and I have talked about a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a local person from Alex City, Riley Pike, who's been involved in the program for years, and just, I mean, we're not talking about they are the best program in the state, but I mean, they're one of the best programs in the country too. So I mean, this isn't just on a hyper local level. What they've been able to do for such a long period of time, similar to what we were talking about with Fife, that's more impressive to me. Like, I think that the winning of championships is great, but if you're doing it every, 30, 40 years, okay. But, I mean, they are consistently every year the top program, and when you're having to replenish athlete after athlete, that goes back to what we were talking about before. For that to take place, do you know how well developed they have to be from a young age, and the buy-in that the parents and the community and the administration and just the leadership in general when it comes to athletics, how involved they have to be from a tiny tyke to, a senior in high school. So, I think that one, I said this has been my favorite. I'm very interested to see this because I'm not that familiar with the sport of wrestling in terms of, I know a lot of the great teams we've had before, but I don't have to know a lot to know that they have to be doing something right for them to have that such success.
That's the story we want to tell. We don't want there to be any questions that you have that's not answered, because what you just said is what all of us think, but we don't know. I thought Fife was just a rural community that was passionate about football, that probably had some great personalities that kind of kept and drove that program. But until I saw it on camera and I go, my gosh, who is this statistician? Because every community in the state of Alabama every great community in the state of Alabama is lucky enough to have a statistician like Fife that is more passionate than everybody else, including the coaches that come and go. And Fife's statistician was that. I mean, we could have just put him on camera for 45 minutes and just let him talk. Or the assistant coach at Vestavia under Sammy Dunn. Just take the camera off everybody else. He's got the best personality. He knows the story better than everybody else. Just let him talk for 45 minutes. And Thompson's going to have some of that. And they're going to have reasons that they took no wrestling program to state championship contention in 3 or 4 years. And, you and I grew up in a community where at least my father and some others that were highly active with the wrestling program, I know how passionate a community can get around wrestling. We haven't gotten as passionate around wrestling as we did when we won 11 state championships in a row. We've got a great coach here that is keeping us consistently competitive, but we don't have that. We've got some great youth developers that are trying to get that back that kind of know what that looks like over in Thompson, mainly Eric Miller and Tom Gorey and some others. But you know where I'm going with this. It's just hard to get to where you're putting in maximum effort, which Thompson seems to be doing year in and year out right now. So we'd love to hear from you. If you've got stories we should cover, we'll do it. 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
You already know the power and reliability of a Mahindra tractor. Get ready to meet their ATV and UTV lines. Haul more and tow more. Do more. Reaching speeds up to 60 miles an hour. Models have a 12-inch ground clearance and the ability to haul up to 1,200 pounds. There's a Mahindra utility vehicle and a model specifically to get the job done. Test drive today at Lake Martin Tractor and Outdoor. serving Tallapoosa, Coosa, Clay, and Talladega counties. 256-392-3613.
Hi, I'm Scott Blake.
I'm Angie Richardson, and we are the loan team here at Movement Mortgage.
Whether you're a first-time home buyer or you've gone through the process before,
Our mission is to help you move forward with the purchase of your future plans. Call me at 256-397-2771.
or call me at 256-794-1003.
Scott Blake, NMLS number 527945. Angie Richardson, NMLS number 216556. Movement Mortgage supports equal housing opportunity, NMLS number 39179. For licensing information, please visit NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Castelluccio Fine Italian Dining in downtown Alexander City is rapidly becoming the region's standard for Italian cuisine, as well as hand-cut filet mignon, fresh Gulf seafood, and the area's best Italian import wine selection. We offer true old-world charm with unmatched hospitality. Like Castelluccio Fine Dining on Facebook to keep up with daily lunch and dinner specials. Also new, we offer catering for your family and small business, so call and order. Castelluccio, downtown Alexander City, where the only thing that rivals the flavor is the dining experience.
You've dreamed about the perfect house, a place to call your own, and a place to not only stretch out, but to grow. Auto Owners protects your house because to you, it's home. That's simple human sense. Happy to help, man. I was just over there talking to myself anyway.
What's up, everybody? Jackson Hodges here with Main Street Anniston, and do I have some exciting news for you? It's the 20th anniversary of the Noble Street Festival in Sunny King Criterium, the biggest event in Calhoun County each year. You don't want to miss it. There'll be a free kids zone, food, vendors, all sorts of things. We'll have Combat Park, so be sure to come down to Noble Street on April 9th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. to experience this once-in-a-lifetime event.
Welcome back into the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. Been bouncing around this morning, Scott. A lot of topics out there. Do want to hear from you if you have storylines on hometown heroes that you would like for us to hit. We'd like to talk about those. 8A game going on over on the Plains today, Scott. We'll move on over because we'll have Luke Robinson on, hopefully with us at 7 o'clock to discuss some Alabama athletics. But you excited about 8A? There are some new faces, trying to keep this positive, you know. If we can spin it in a positive direction, let's do it. At least try to this morning. Got a lot of visitors coming in. Seems like a lot of recruits potentially. That does feel like it's starting to catch a little steam, to get a little traction. We've got some recruits that are interested in us. But I'll start with the quarterback position to you. T.J. Finley. Can he improve enough to be a really good SEC quarterback? Time will tell. But there's two other players on that team that I think have the potential to be very good SEC quarterbacks, and I'll start with one because you and I have seen him quite a bit in high school, and that's Robbie Ashford from Hoover High School that went off to Oregon. Auburn had a really good chance to get him when he was a high school recruit. He was a top-notch baseball prospect here in the state as well. Just your thoughts on him, because I know you've seen him a good bit.
No, I think that he definitely has the skill set that could make him a starting SEC quarterback. I think he's got that. Now, are the pieces around him good enough that can supplement any shortcomings he may have? And I think that applies to the other quarterbacks as well. So I think from the quarterback position, I'm not as concerned on what the talent level is, but what are the pieces around them that are going to allow him to be as successful as possible? And that's where I think Auburn is hurting a little bit. I mean, I don't think we're that great at the skill position set. Tank is basically your primary person offensively, and then, you know, we're going to have to see what happens with the offensive line. But to your point about Robbie, I do think that he could do some things. I think he actually could have probably been pretty good in Gus's offense too. And we're going at some point I'm going to have to stop thinking about how people could have done in that offense. But I do think that he's SEC caliber and could be somebody that gets some wins for Auburn.
Yeah, I think the talent level is there. He's not a Nick Marshall type player. He's more of a Bo Nix-esque, a little bit longer, a little bit different looking athlete, I would say, than Bo Nix, but maybe some of the same skill set. Zach Calzada, not going to see a lot of him, but, Zach Calzada, I've seen enough to know that under the right system and in the right offense, he can put up big numbers. He's got a great arm. Same like Robbie Ashford. I mean, I don't look at any of these three and go, there's no hope. TJ Finley, from a mobility standpoint, under Auburn right now, really concerns me. So I would like to see one of the others, which means today, if I were going over the A-Day game, I'd love to see Robbie Ashford look the part and throw the football around and not throw 2 picks, and because there will be some 7-on-7 setups, I think, with receivers and running backs going against the secondary and much of a 7-on-7 matchup. We just don't have the numbers out in the spring to do much other than that. I think the offensive line can be steady. I don't know if we've got any great players, but we got players that have taken a lot of snaps. And
that matters.
That does matter a whole lot. I don't look at our offensive front and go, good gosh, what do we have? No, I think we all kind of got a pretty good idea what we have with some of the pieces that we'll be plugging in.
Yeah. I look at, I mean, it's probably unfair, but that's who your competition is. I mean, I look at what Alabama, Georgia, A&M, your Ole Miss is even, like what their lines are looking like and the type of players that they're getting in. Like, we haven't had a top-tier lineman probably. I mean, I'd say Greg Robinson, but they're,
Braden Smith.
Braden Smith. I'll say Braden Smith. But outside of that, it's kind of just been some guys. And there's nothing that's not to knock them. Obviously, they're great players to have an SEC offer and to be playing for an SEC team. But, if you're looking at who your competition is, can they go against the defensive line on the flip side? Can they defend or can they block against these defensive linemen and these linebackers that we're going to consistently have to play? And that's my worry. I think ones across the board, yeah, we're probably comparable to a lot of teams, but the depth of if something happens, it gets real shaky there for Auburn, and that's where the nervousness comes in for me.
We'll go ahead and take another break here on the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown. When we come back, we'll run down about 8 or 10 names to watch that we felt like coming into this A-Day game, and we'll get your ideas of some players you would like to see. 256-234-6221. More of the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com.
WOTM is the television provider for all Alabama High School Athletic Association championship events and special programs. WOTM is your home for the Super 7 football, state finals basketball, baseball and softball state championships, the AHSAA weekly show, and WOTM also produced the first ever football playoff show, Super 7 preview show, and reclassification reveal show. Your exclusive home for all things AHSAA is WOTM. Contact your local cable provider to request WOTM to your channel lineup.
You don't have to ask who, what, or why. Who's Diner is the go-to place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Conveniently located at the corner of Highway 22 and 280 in Alex City, Who's Diner offers the best meals and the best deals in town. Try our fresh, made-from-scratch pancakes, chicken salad, Philly cheesesteak, or the Who Burger. It doesn't get any better than Who's Diner, of course, on the corner of Highway 22 and 280. Who's hungry?
Fast, fresh, and friendly. That's the Allen Brew Market mission to our customers on the go. Allen Brew Markets of Talladega County fuel your vehicle and you with the best coffee, drinks, snacks, and food, so you can get your day on the fast track. Allen Brew Markets are always convenient with Sylacauga locations on Main Avenue, Highway 280, and Old Birmingham Highway. Allen Brew Markets has everything for the family on the go, and we're always brewing up great specials. Fast, fresh, and friendly. Our guarantee to you.
The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Why is Sarah Automotive Group on Highway 280 in Sylacauga the place for the best deals on your new ride? 3 compelling reasons. 1. With 3 full new car dealers on one lot, you get the best in comparison and incentives on Fords, Hondas, and Nissans. Unmatched selection. 2. Sarah pays over market value for your trade to maintain East Central Alabama's best pre-owned vehicle selection and sale. And 3. The Sarah Automotive price won't be beat and delivers lower payments and huge value on your next buy. Shop online or on Highway 280 in Sylacauga.
Back into the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. I want to thank Heritage South and all of our great segment sponsors that we have out there on our programs. We've been doing this for 15-plus years, Saturday mornings. The time slots changed slightly, but not over the last several years. And so 7 to 9 is when you've got us, and we got another hour with you this morning. We'll go to the phone lines, which we've got a caller in right now, and we'll have more of those coming in the second hour of the show. Caller, you're on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Let me put it on mute.
Yeah, how are you?
I said, let me put it on. Listen, I called Brett and Luke the other night on Tuesday night.
Yes, sir.
And Luke and Brett told me that they go open up. Benjamin Russell's going to open up against Sylacauga.
Is that right, Scott? I'd have to pull the schedule up for next year. I'm not positive. Aubrey, if you're listening, please help me.
I'm unsure. I know they're on the schedule again. I guess we might be opening with Sylacauga.
It only makes sense that Benjamin Russell and Sylacauga play each other in everything. The two communities are virtually the same two communities. The older I get, the more I realize we were way back when, and we still are today.
Okay, so you don't know who they replaced Huffman for?
No, I'm just glad they replaced Huffman. I will say that.
Yeah.
Very open.
Well, maybe I can get it to you tonight.
Okay, yeah. And if not, we'll pull up the schedule here in a minute, and we'll pass it along to you, okay?
Okay, well, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. 256-234-6221. That question is a high school football question, and that's a compliment on Huffman. You know, Huffman just not been a very good matchup for us, and you know, not that Huffman's moved on and had much success in that region that they have to fight in, because that's just a juggernaut to get through. But they haven't been a good matchup for us, and it was a tough loss to them last year. So that's no negative terms towards Huffman. But yeah, Scott, we were talking, you know, during the break, and you know, a lot of the talks around the state this time of year when you get into championship season is around where you are in the state and what region you're in and what area you're in and why are you in this area? Why aren't you in that area? And I've always seemed to enjoy bouncing around, being in a community where you bounce around a bit, because it gives broadcasters like you and myself an opportunity to go out there and see other parts of the state and what they're doing in other parts.
Yeah, and Benjamin Russell's new region is similar to what it was when I was in school.
Almost exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like you're saying exactly. And I missed those days of playing Briarwood and Homewood consistently. And having a chance to play them again in the playoffs.
Yep.
And so the winner of those games were going to more than likely have a chance. More often than not, it was Homewood, but had a chance to compete for a state championship. But those early 2000s or mid 2000 years, the rivalry between Ben Russell and Homewood was unmatched, and everybody around the state knew it. Started with the 7 overtime game, and from that point on up until roughly I graduated 2007 maybe to they make a little run there. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. That's where I was getting to, baby. It's going to be tough, but I think it'll be fun for people that around my age especially, and those who have been following the program, to renew that rivalry that we saw before.
Well, the thing about that region is the communities and the schools are not going to allow their program for long to take a tailspin and go down. Briarwood had a little moment where they were average to slightly above average. They're not anymore. They're way above average in football. And you kind of you sense that. They're just not going to allow that. Homewood has been a lot like us. Average at best. They've had their moments. Actually, when we had our nice little 4-year stretch where we were winning 10, 11, 12 games under Danny Horn, Homewood was right in the middle of their stretch where we were having to compete against them for championships again. But they've, fallen off. Well, all sense and everything that I've heard is, they have a resurgence coming as well. And these communities care about it. And when you care about it, you're going to have people like me and you that go, how can we make this better? Because most of our conversations are around how can we make it better, and then unfortunately sometimes we look at each other and go, are we helping make it better at all? And when it becomes that, it's a little bit difficult, isn't it, Scott? We'll go ahead and have another phone call. Caller, you on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Yes, this is Randy.
It is.
Hey, it's Morris from Anniston. I don't know whether I've talked with you before. I know I've called in the program several times, and
well, I appreciate you calling us.
Talk with Brett. I enjoy you guys, and I've just discovered you here recently, so I can't wait for football season where we can really talk. But I was going to ask you, and I'm going to hang up because I'm hard of hearing. I'm on a speakerphone, and I don't want to be talking over you, and I can hear you. When I hang up, I can hear you on TV. But I know I've watched you, and you're concerned about Auburn's recruiting. I will say that I'm an Alabama fan, but, we only got a school that separates us mentally. We're all on the same page as far as our sports are concerned, so I don't have a problem with that. But it doesn't seem to me like it's been that long ago when you would watch Alabama and Auburn play football, and there might be one player here or there that would be different. You was almost looking at mirror images of the teams, and I hadn't thought about it that much. I've been watching you on the recruiting deal, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit where you think that's went off the scale. And I may be wrong. If I am, you tell me. But over the years, I would look at the team and I'm like, you could swap them out almost. But anyway, I appreciate y'all taking my call, and I'll hang up and listen to you on the TV.
Thank you, Morris. We appreciate your phone call from Anniston, 256-234-6221. We're up against the top of the hour break. When we come back, Morris, we'll answer your question. Hopefully have Luke Robinson on the phone with us, who is our in-house recruitnik. Knows it better than just about anyone, especially from the Alabama side. But I do think part of the story, Scott, as we head to break, revolves around Alabama when you're talking about Auburn when it's recruiting. We have to go head-to-head. And we must win at least our fair share. We don't have to win a majority, but we got to win our fair share if we're going to stay consistently competing with them. And, it's not that it's gotten completely away from us, because I thought Gus Malzahn did. If the one thing he did do a pretty good job of, it was recruit. He kept us relevant on the recruiting circles. That's my biggest question mark with Brian Harsin. I actually love what Brian Harsin says when he's in front of a mic. I'd like to play for him. Seems like the demeanor that I would like to play for. A guy that's willing to run around campus and up and down stairs and probably outwork you in the weight room. I like all those things about him, and I'd like to play for him, but we've got to find a way to get when you're competing against Alabama and Georgia and LSU and Texas A&M, you got to at least find a way to be in maybe the top 10 or 12 in recruiting. You'd have to spin it to compete for championships consistently if you didn't find a way to get in the top 7 in recruiting. But we got to find a way to do that. Now, what did we finish, 19th last year? And I think late in the process, Trevon Reed goes over to Louisiana and picks up 3 or 4 was really the reason that we were able to jump to where we were. Not very many top 100 guys at all. I can give you some of those specifics when we come back, though, Morris. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
WOTM is the television provider for all Alabama High School Athletic Association championship events and special programs. WOTM is your home for the Super 7 football, state finals basketball, baseball and softball state championships, the AHSAA weekly show, and WOTM also produced the first ever football playoff show, Super 7 preview show, and reclassification reveal show. Your exclusive home for all things AHSAA is WOTM. Contact your local cable provider to request WOTM to your channel lineup.
I'm Jimmy Goree with Goree's Furniture. We would like to invite you to come shop our huge selection of furniture. But if you don't have time, we have over 2,000 items you can have shipped directly to your home. Go to GoreesFurniture.com, look for 48-hour quick ship. Shop, click, ship, it's just that easy. You can shop us here, or you can shop us online, only at Goree's Furniture.
Your expressway to saving.
If you haven't been to Big B Barbecue in Alex City, then you're missing the best barbecue around. Big B has everything from the best pulled or chopped pork, chicken, and beef to cheeseburgers and grilled chicken salads. Bring your friends and family out for a great dinner and sit outside on our beautiful patio, or sit inside and enjoy your meal by the fireplace. So come in and join us and enjoy the best barbecue in the area only at Big B Barbecue, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City.
You want the best opportunity to be successful in life. You deserve that opportunity. Well, you just happens to be in our motto, central to you, central to your success. Your future is right now. Don't wait. Make your dreams a reality by enrolling at Central Alabama Community College. Register today at cacc.edu.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Going to welcome in our good friend Luke Robinson as we start up the second hour of the program this morning. Luke, glad to have you on. We had a caller in on the previous segment. I want to let you jump in and maybe start off the answer to his question. He was talking to me about recruiting for Auburn and Alabama, and in his visual he had looked at both sides, and I think he's thinking back maybe 10, 15 years ago, and we got pretty equal talent. Now I say that the talent's not necessarily equal, and probably the best place to point to is prospects that come to each of our schools that end up as high NFL draft picks. I think that's one of the best places you can point to. The comparison between Alabama and Auburn over the last, say, 10 years and putting guys in the NFL, especially first and second rounders, there is no comparison.
Oh, it's not even close. And the same goes for Georgia versus Auburn. And really, I mean, Alabama and Georgia have done a better job of even, say, putting players in the NFL over somebody like a Clemson, who's also been in the mix for the national championship several times. The difference is that Clemson doesn't have to play any Alabamas and Georgias until they get to the playoff, or LSU's for that matter, or Texas A&M's. I mean, they get to play what has been a pretty downtrodden Florida State, what has been, a Wake Forest, a Pittsburgh. They've had their nice little Miami that's been pretty down until now with Mario Cristobal coming in and recruiting. That's been the thing. I mean, people love to point at recruiting rankings, people who don't believe in the rankings, and say, well, you know, Clemson's not always in the top 10. Why can't Auburn do what Clemson does? Well, you also have to factor in the schedules. Clemson's schedule is inherently easier than Auburn's. It just is. There's no getting around that. And Auburn has to play Alabama, and Auburn has to play Georgia, and Auburn has to play LSU, and Auburn has to play Texas A&M. And on top of that, every now and again they'll have to mess around and play an Ole Miss team that may have a NFL quality quarterback, or a Florida team that has some NFL players on it. So it just never stops in the SEC. And that's the case. I mean, Alabama's had more talent than Auburn for the last 15 years. And I do know some Auburn fans look at that as, you know, that the silver lining is they've been able to get some victories over Nick Saban, and there's no doubt about it. But even those victories, some of the times that Auburn's gotten those wins, you know, Alabama's still been able to go on and play for a national championship and win one. Auburn's in a really, really difficult place. They've never been a school that has consistently been in the top 5, top 7 of recruiting. Now, they've been in the top 10 several times. There's no doubt about it. But Auburn's never been one of those that's really challenged for, like, the number 1, number 2, number 3 class. That's not been what they do. They have always been known as a school that has found some guys that, you know, may be considered diamonds in the rough, or they prioritize guys that are maybe a backup plan for bigger schools, yet Auburn sees something special in them, and they turn out to be very special. So, you know, look, Auburn's made a living on that, you know, ever since they've been in existence. The problem is now some of these other schools have stepped up their recruiting game so much that it's difficult for anybody else, especially in the SEC, to get a consistent string of wins together.
Now, Luke, obviously we know how successful the recruiting has been during the Nick Saban era, but you're talking about Auburn historically and not being, you know, in the 5 to 7 range. I can't recall before Saban where Alabama would usually rank. Were they in the top 10 then too, or was this more something that happened consistently once Saban got here?
Well, it certainly has been more specific since Saban has gotten here in terms of ranking in the top 1, 2, or 3. But I think Alabama's always been in the top 10 when they haven't had some kind of investigation or punishment looming over their heads. I started following recruiting about 1985, 1986, somewhere in there. And I remember the first really big article on recruiting that I read was a Sports Illustrated preview article that came out with the college football edition. And I'll never forget something that was said, and it just stuck with me all these years, that they mentioned that I think Notre Dame that year was ranked like number 4, number 5 in recruiting. And they said, yeah, this is tailed off a little bit from what Notre Dame, or maybe they were ranked number 10, something like that. And they said maybe Notre Dame's recruiting is tailed off a little bit, but the definition of a great recruit is one that's being recruited by Notre Dame. Now, back then in the 80s and even in the 90s, I think that if recruiting services were much more hit or miss, and what they basically depended on was, okay, is Notre Dame recruiting you? Okay, then I'm going to rank you a 4 or 5 star. Is Ohio State recruiting you? Okay, you're a 4 or 5 star. And I think now it's much more scientific. There are more camps. You can measure these kids authentically. You know, they can come to your camp. You can get an actual height. Instead of somebody telling you, hey, this guy's 6'4", okay, you can measure him and say, well, he's actually 6'2" 3/4. That's an inch and a quarter difference. That can be a big deal. You can say, well, this guy just runs a 4.4. I hand timed him. Well, now you laser time him. You're like, oh my God, he's actually a 4.3. This is amazing. And there's so much more access to all the videos of these kids. You're not just depending on word of mouth or something from a coach. You can, and it's so much easier to get somewhere to see them play in a live game. You can find out what his personality's like on social media and realize, okay, maybe I don't want to be around this kid quite as much. I mean, he might be the most talented kid in the country, but his social media is filled with expletives and, you know, all these other problems. So I might not want to, sign this kid. It's much more scientific now. So I have no problem admitting in the early stages of recruiting rankings, there's no doubt there was some Alabama bumps, some Alabama bias, and Notre Dame bias, Ohio State bias, Georgia bias, all that. That was very true. I think now, people love to say, well, this kid's going to be a 5-star if Alabama signs him, only a 4-star if Auburn signs him. There's some truth to that, but there's also some literal truth to it in the sense that, look, at this point, if you don't think the guys Alabama are recruiting or Georgia's recruiting or Ohio State's recruiting are better than you thought they were, then that's kind of on you. I mean, the proof's in the pudding. These are the teams that are winning every single year. These are the teams that are putting players in the NFL with the most consistently. So I think you can say the Bama bump is you can call it a negative thing if you want to. I think it's actually a pretty doggone good way for teams to look at this. For recruiting services to look at this and go, hey, maybe we need to reevaluate this guy a little bit more. And now they have the resources to understand why you actually give a Bama bump instead of just doing it because Bama's recruiting.
Luke, let's lean this last question towards Alabama and the players here in the state of Alabama that they're after. This is a banner year for high school recruiting coming up in the state of Alabama. Give us your thoughts on some of the top players that you like, especially the ones that the University of Alabama will be hot and heavy after. If not, I think we've got 20-plus players here in the state of Alabama that have a chance to have 4- or 5-star ranking, don't we?
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if there ended up being, anywhere from 5 to 8 5-stars, 12 to 20 4-stars. That's a lot of big-time talent here in the state of Alabama. And James Smith certainly comes to mind. Russell, the Yanzi Pierre out of Eufaula. All these guys are just ridiculously good. Jaleel Hurley, who's already committed to Alabama, the defensive back. A.J. Harris out of Central Phoenix City, who a lot of people believe will leave the state of Alabama. Tony Mitchell at Thompson, Peter Woods at Thompson. These are guys that are just so good. Tamarian Parker out of Central Phoenix City. There's just so much talent in the state this year. And I certainly believe Alabama's going to get its fair share. And, look, I really think that something that could help Alabama a lot, even though this player isn't from the state of Alabama, if Alabama were to really go ahead and get a commitment from somebody like an Arch Manning, who in their right mind wouldn't want to be on the same team as one of the Mannings? That is football royalty right there. That is the first name in football. And so wherever Arch Manning goes, whether it be Alabama, whether it be Texas or Georgia, it seems like it's pretty universalist down to those three. I think that particular school will see a huge bump in their recruiting because I think players are going to look around and go, hey, just by having him on the team, my school is going to get more publicity, which means I get a chance at more publicity. I'm going to probably have a chance to be involved in much more championship games, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like Arch Manning is the Pied Piper this year when it comes to recruiting. There's some other recruits out there like Chris Vazina at Briarwood. BRHS will play him this year. That kid's phenomenal. If it weren't for Nico, and I've been calling him I am a Leva, and I've been told now by somebody who's actually spoken to him that I had on my podcast that pronunciation is incorrect, and I'm still practicing it, so I'm not going to pretend to say it now. But he's committed to Tennessee right now. If Nico weren't in this class, if Arch Manning weren't in this class, and Eli Holstein, that's the other big-time quarterback in this class, if those three guys weren't in this particular class, Chris Vazina would be the number one quarterback in the country. I firmly believe that. That kid's amazing. And, he's just not getting the love he should because of those other three guys.
Good rundown, Luke. We appreciate the phone call this morning, buddy. Look forward to having you back on with us next week.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
That's Luke Robinson, and he can answer those recruiting questions for Morris even better than you and I can, but maybe we'll try to run down some of those from an Auburn standpoint and what the difference, we did a program a few years back, and maybe we'll hit on this on the follow-up segment. The difference between a number 10 class and a top 3 class. I'll try to run that down one more time because Auburn had finished, I think, 10, 11, or 12 in the next to the last year for Gus Malzahn, and this was ESPN's rankings. And these were top 300 guys as well as top 100 guys, and how many of each that you would get if you were a top 1 or 2 class in comparison to the 10th ranked class. And I can remember those numbers, so Morris, I'll try to pass those on the next segment. 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
A&M Plumbing, A&M Plumbing, service at its best when you need it most.
From the smallest drippy faucet to drain cleaning to water heater replacement to gas lines to total systems replacement, A&M Plumbing handles it all. Visit amplumbing.net today for the experienced, licensed, and insured pros at A&M Plumbing.
A&M Plumbing, A&M Plumbing, service at its best when you need it most.
They say we live in an age of big data, where computers and fancy algorithms are supposed to know you best. But at Country Financial, we know helping you own your future requires, well, something much bigger. Contact your local Country Financial representative and start planning for your future with a personal touch.
Okay, somebody's not wearing their seatbelt.
I don't wear seat belts. Might wrinkle my shirt.
That's okay. I'm sure they can iron it before the funeral.
What funeral?
Yours. Almost 70% of people who die in car crashes aren't wearing a seatbelt.
Okay. There. You happy?
Just happy to be alive.
Seatbelts. It's hard to live without them. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
It's time to crank for bank. April 1st through July 4th, you'll be fishing Lake Martin for a chance to win big. With a $100 registration, you'll be fishing for $1 million from Big Fish Real Estate Group and Point Broadband, a 2022 Bass Cap Bass Boat from Russell Marine, 2022 Skeeter Bass Boat from Ashley Outdoors, a 2022 Chevy truck from Lake Martin Cabinetry and Allen Embry Premier Chevrolet, or catch a $1,500 tagged fish. Brought to you in part by Dunning Roofing, Lake Martin Tourism, Mortgage Pro, Fishing Chaos, and Lake Broadcasting. Visit Crank, the number 4 bank.com for details.
But Andy Graham does a great job of, putting these lists together and making us not just up here, running off the mouth on, things that we don't know anything about. Well, a few years ago, I'd asked for what was the comparison between the top 2 class, and it was actually Alabama and Georgia at the time with the top 2 classes. And, I vividly remember Alabama finishing 1. And it was an ESPN ranking, so they do top 300 and top 100 on ESPN. Well, Alabama had signed 27. 25 were top 300 guys. I think like 11 or 12 were top 100 guys. So they had 10% of the top 100. Yeah. It was a number somewhere around that. Now, Auburn had a good class. We signed 25. I think we finished 9th or 10th in this class. It's been about 3 years ago. We had 10 top 300 guys, which solid number. But the problem is when your lead competition gets 25 and you have what you consider a very good class and you get 10, they've doubled you up on their chances to get big-time players. Now, and we could probably look at the top 100 and those numbers were even skewed more, whereas they probably had 10 and we only had 2 or 3 top 100 guys at the time. No matter what it is, my point is it's easy to get caught up and think, well, man, we finished 7th, 8th, 9th in recruiting. Well, and that is good. And we can get a top-ranked Alabama team at Jordan-Hare, and we can beat them. Heck, we about beat them last year. It's crazy, but that's how good Auburn is at their home field with us fans behind them, and we're not way off at home. But the issue is when we're at a neutral site or we're in a bowl game or we're playing on the road with them. Well, I mean, you've said it better than anybody up here. We are what we are. What are we over the last 20 years, Scott? Right. We're an 8-5 team with chances to hit the pinnacle. The ceiling's really high, but the average is who you are, and the average is about 8-5.
Which, that's a very tough spot to be in as a fan, because the highs at Auburn, I think, manipulate our emotions to the point to think that that's something that can happen consistently. But I think that also it's unfair to compare our program to the heights of what Alabama is now and what Georgia is becoming and what they're about to become for the foreseeable future. I mean, those are anomalies. That's you can't compare that. Even Ohio State has kind of taken a little step back comparative to maybe an Alabama and Georgia. But if you're an Auburn fan going into every season, I think that the floor as a fan should be probably 8's probably the floor, but 9 really realistically should be what you're aiming for. And then every recruiting class, by the time they graduate, should have an opportunity to play for an SEC championship. So every 3 to 5 years, Auburn should be playing for an SEC championship. And if you're doing that, that more than likely means you're playing, at least getting to the playoff. So with that in mind, you look at the competition that we have to go against. Well, 2 of those teams are pretty much a lock. So, I mean, what do you do as an Auburn fan? So you're looking at it on the 12-game schedule, just you're going to say those are 2 losses. Now you have an LSU every other year, that's probably a loss. Then A&M now, you're teetering with
A&M,
them.
what, 8 or 9 5-stars in this class?
I don't know what they're doing.
Well, they had more 5-stars. To A&M in this year's class had more 5-stars than the ACC conference.
I saw that, yeah. That's so.
And the Big Ten, I think.
Yeah, I think there may have been one other. It may have just been those 2 conferences. But, I mean, what are you supposed to do with that? So if you're Auburn and you think you had a great class and you got 2 5-stars and then a handful of multiples of 4-stars. Well, shoot. I mean, what you said about it increases your opportunity. Not all these guys are going to be good, but if you can hit on 50% of those guys, then that's great. But if you've got 10 of them, okay, well then that still leaves you 5.
Well, it's like Aggie Hall over at Alabama right now. Big-time 5-star guy, one of the top recruits in the class, one of the top wide receiver recruits in the country coming out. He ain't worked out. Think they're worried about it? I mean, the worried, like not even losing a blink of sleep over because they got so many behind. The problem, when you're not getting those numbers like that is the Byron Cowarts exponentially become, well, y'all can't develop them. Why can't y'all develop them? You got the number 1 player in the country. Why can't you turn him into an All-American? They exponentially get worse, whereas Alabama's like, Aggie Hall's gone. He's in transfer portal, so be it. We won't even bring it up. Nobody even remember his name next year other than unless he goes on and has a great career somewhere else. But it's not going to be Alabama fan going, no, in their mental, they're like, he didn't fit into our culture, so be it. Let's let him go on. So Auburn has some positive momentum. I think we've got good coaches on staff that can recruit. I love Cadillac. I look and see what we've got with Zach Etheridge and Trevon Reed now kind of heading up the recruiting efforts. I'd buy what they're selling. Again, I don't mind Brian Harsin. I like his scheme. I like all of those things. But at the end of the day, he's got this year to put a great class together. And luckily for him, the state of Alabama is loaded. Loaded. Alabama may rack up in the state of Alabama and only get 6 or 7 of those guys. They're only going to sign 24 or 5 anyway. Maybe not even that many. So that'd be a third of their class if they got 7 guys out of the state of Alabama. That'd be a high number, a lot higher than the norm. That still leaves 15 to 20 4 to 5 stars here in this state. We got to go get our fair share of them. and they can't seep out of the state and go all over that's where we got to shore up the state boundaries. And luckily for Brian Harsin and us Auburn fans, it's a great year to be fighting this battle. And I do think that there's some positive momentum going. I do.
And I think Auburn will get some. I think the problem that, like, if I was a parent of a top-tier recruit, I'm not it's a wait-and-see game, I think. It's going to have to be because you don't – I mean, Auburn could easily start 2-3. And then Harsin not even be there. And then I think this is probably the most important season in Auburn football history, in maybe not all the time, but it's in the last 20 years. It's probably one of the most important seasons because we could easily, if he gets fired, I'm not hoping that happens because I don't want the transition, but if he is fired, you're looking at 3 to 4 years, I think, maybe 5 years before Auburn can get back because of what it's going to do. You already have such poor talent anyway. I'm not going to say poor, but depth of talent. And if you can't bring any other people in and you're wait and see, now you're going to lose them to your rivals anyway. So it just puts you further and further behind the people that you're competing against. So it is absolutely imperative that for Auburn to maintain any type of credibility as a program, I think they have to win. Like 8 games would be sufficient, I think.
Yeah, I think 8 games in a top 10 recruiting class would be a great year for me. I'd be all about it, and I'd be up here touting Brian Harsin and saying I'd love to play for him and all those things that I've already said before. And so hopefully that works out, and I do get a sense that things are transitioning in a positive direction when it comes to recruiting. Caller, you're on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Hey, Randy, this is David.
Hey, David, how are you?
I'm good, man.
Good.
I missed the first hour of the show. You know, I'm an old man. I had to get my beauty sleep, so
well, you keep getting it, and we're glad to have you on air. So we had a question and some things that I'd like for you to jump in on, David.
All right, let's go.
Well, you know, we had a question to start off the second hour of the show about the discrepancy between recruiting classes for Alabama and Auburn. When, in the caller's opinion, when he sees them out there on the field, and I think he's really talking about 10 to 15 years ago, they look much the same. But should the concern be as high for us Auburn fans as it is when it comes to recruiting, was his question.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. You know, right now 247 has us ranked 20th with no 5 stars and 10 4-stars. You know, the Gus Malzahn always landed between 7 and 15. And you know, Gus did recruit well. It's a pipe dream for us to sit around here and think we're going to be in the top 3, 4, or 5. With what's going on at Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M right now, you got Ohio State. It's virtually impossible for us to finish in that top 5. And we haven't done that traditionally. But I'm with you, Randy. We have to bump the recruiting up another notch and stay in that top 15 for us to have a chance to get to the pinnacle, as you said just a minute ago. I listened to Cole Kublik yesterday, and Cole was saying that since the coup attempt with Brian Harsin and the changes that he has made and some of the guys he's brought in, Brumbaugh in particular, he said the number of dudes that have been on campus in the last month is totally different than what he'd seen before, and that's a good sign. But as you said, and I totally agree, we've got to get some of these kids to sign on the dotted line. So I'm concerned, but I believe in what Harsin's doing. I know accountability-wise, work ethic-wise, it's a totally different culture than what we had before. And I'm hoping that will pay dividends with the guys that we do have on campus. But I totally agree. I'm not uber concerned that I'm going to go jump off a cliff, but we do have to bump it up for sure.
David, I must take advantage of having you on the phone with us. And this Auburn baseball team is really turning the corner. Great pitching performance last night against a team that you know needed to come to Auburn and find some wins this weekend, but Auburn's able to continue their strong stretch. And, you know, if we could pull off a plus 500 mark in SEC play this year and for Auburn baseball, I'd be ecstatic about that because we just haven't been able to do that consistently over the last 20 years.
No, and, Andy and I, ad nauseum last season, talked about the failure of the bullpen to close out games, the failure of timely hits that we just didn't get. And if you look at what we've done so far, the resume, both of those areas are probably our strongest points right now. Bullpen, this kid that threw against UAB the other night, Randy Alsop, the freshman, touching 96, 97. Where's this kid come from? And Blake Burkhalter is just he's just the death of our opposition when he comes in the eighth inning. So, and the hitting, of course, has come around. I was in the park last night. I'm going to be at all 3 games this weekend. I'm going over to A-Day as well today. I wanted to ask you about that. The Tiger Terrace last night, literally they were packed in like sardines. And today it's going to be the same with A-Day. Terry made a comment the other day that Butch Thompson looked like a guy that was coaching for his job. I don't see that. I think Butch Thompson is elite. I think he's one of the best in the conference. Vanderbilt is struggling, and that's weird to see. They're not hitting. I talked to one of their fans that follows the team last night everywhere they go, and he said, man, we're just not hitting like we have been. We got to pitch it. But I'm thrilled with what's going on with Auburn baseball, and last night was so much fun. It really was.
Got A-Day today, David. Players you look forward to seeing because there are some new faces out there, and we've talked about the quarterback position a little bit earlier. Maybe you want to hit on that, but just some of the players you look forward to seeing over at A-Day today.
Well, I missed what you guys said about the quarterback position. Zach Calzada, of course, is a mystery just because of the injury. And Randy, Brett calls me Mr. Positive. I don't like to comment on things that I hear that I don't know are true or not. But I think one of the reasons that Demetrius went on down the road is because of what Robbie Ashford has shown so far since he's been on campus. He's a dark horse for me. I'm anxious to see him. And I know he's had some inconsistencies learning the system. That's all it is to it. The kid is an athlete. We saw him when he was a Hoover. I know you did. I'm anxious to look at Robbie. I'm anxious to see the improvement of Dylan Brooks on the edge. And I told Andy yesterday, any and all receivers, what's the pecking order of our receiving core? Who's going to step up and be the dude on the receiving core? And, of course, we got so many people injured. Randy, I don't even know if we even know what the format's going to be today. So I don't know what we'll see. But I'm just anxious to get in Jordan-Hare Stadium and get a close-up on our team. Basically, the psyche of our team, the attitude, and, how are they jumping around, how are they relating to one another. We don't see any of that, Randy. As a former coach, we don't see the work ethic. We don't see the attitude of some of these kids, and that plays such a big part in what goes on with these teams. But those are the guys that I'm anxious to look at, among others.
Well, we're up against the break. David, look forward to hearing from you next week on your thoughts from the A-Day and hopefully some more positive news around Auburn baseball. And we'll have you back up here with Auburn Blitz next week, buddy.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it. You guys do a great job. Enjoy listening to you. I'm glad to be a part of the team, man.
Thank you very much. Look forward to hearing from you next week. And Scott and I will hit back on Robbie Ashford and a couple of other things as we close out the program this morning. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com.
Sign Source is your local vendor for commercial and residential sign manufacturing and installation. We offer all kinds of lighted and non-lighted signage, from retail signs, LED message centers, event banners, vehicle wraps, the whole spectrum. We also offer service and repair on existing signs, as well as retrofitting to LED or installation of outsourced signage. We have the knowledge necessary to fulfill all of your signage needs in the short or long term. Visit signsourcenow.com to get started.
Heritage South Credit Union in Alexander City is your community credit union, and they have been for over 80 years. Heritage South Credit Union proudly serves Tallapoosa, Coosa, Lee, Chambers, Randolph, and Chilton counties. From checking to business accounts, to share savings to club accounts, to their kids club and investments. Visit them online at myhscu.com. Heritage South Credit Union, your community credit union for 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
Planting season is here, and the Potting Shed Garden Center is happy to give you professional landscaping advice when it comes to planting your shrubs and trees. Auburn's best kept secret will have it all this fall. Mums, pansies, pumpkins, and much more. All an array of colors and sizes, along with beautiful pots and containers, indoor plants, and a great selection of other gardening gifts. It's all at the Potting Shed Garden Shop, where natural elements reign supreme. Located on the corner of Moore's Mill and Society Hill Road in Auburn.
Now is the best time to sell your current home, as it's a seller's market, meaning that on average you can get up to 96% of your asking price. Who's the most aggressive and most experienced to help you sell your home?
Hi, I'm Rhonda Gaskins, broker Century 21 Lake Area Realty in the Lake Martin area. We are getting a 96% return on our listing price, the sales price in this area. Call me today and let me go to work for you. 256-749-3644.
GillsOpelika.info. Get pre-approved in minutes online at GillsOpelika.info for a pre-owned car, truck, or SUV from Gills Auto Sales, 1430 Gateway Drive in Opelika.
Few other names we look forward to seeing on A-Day, Scott. We talked about Robbie Ashford. Great athleticism, good length, strong arm. A lot of teams wanted him. It really came down to Auburn and Ole Miss was my mental. Ends up at Oregon maybe at the last second, but Mario Cristobal was such a great recruiter that he swayed a lot of kids from the state of Alabama to end up out there. And many of them have come back towards Auburn. We'll talk about another one here in just a few minutes, DJ James, that will end up back at Auburn from Oregon. So those are a couple of guys that we have coming in. The athleticism's no question. The arm strength, no question. Mobility, I don't know that he's Nick Marshall, but he's a good enough athlete that he's one of the top baseball prospects in the state. As well at Hoover. So I look forward to seeing him, and I think we're going to see a lot of him.
Yeah, and I think that this is going to be a chance. I think he's going to have a chance to display why we did what we did to try to get him here. I like TJ Finley. I do think that from a mobility standpoint, it does hurt us because he takes a lot of sacks, and you know that if you're not the strongest on the offensive line, you need somebody to at least avoid some of the pressure. But that's my guy. But I would not be surprised or disappointed if Robbie Ashford ended up being the starting quarterback. And again, to David's point, you don't really know. Like today's format could be kind of weird because we do have, one, we don't have a lot of depth, and then two, the injuries are a problem too. So we'll see. But I'm in the minority when it comes to TJ Finley. But primarily I think the Alabama game did a lot for me, just him not quitting. And, I mean, he's based on one leg for the second half. So, I mean, he gets a lot of props from me, but it's not about that. You got to win football games, and Robbie probably gives us the best opportunity.
I think Zach Calzada's a good option too. I think, I've gone back and checked out that game against Alabama where he really did play out of his mind, and he's a good body. He looks the part out there.
I think
his
that's
development.
He just looks like
Well, he does look the part, but you got to play too. And I don't care if it's at home or whoever it's against. If you're able to put a game together like he did against Alabama last year, now Texas A&M let him go. He got out of there, so there's a reason for that as well. So I hate that we're not going to see more of him. I think he could be a good piece, and I think both of those guys. I think Robbie Ashford and Zach Calzada were good gets for Auburn. If either one of them ended up with a starting quarterback job, I wouldn't feel too bad about either one of them going into the season. Sean Jackson gets his scholarship given this past weekend, a great running back out of Hewitt-Trussville High School, was part of that Armani Goodwin group that put up a lot of points at Hewitt-Trussville. He's more of a big physical back, a run between the tackle back. Carnell seems to love him. He's done nothing but work extremely hard since he's been there, is what Carnell says about him. And I'm a huge Carnell Williams fan, so I'm glad that he's there at Auburn. So hopefully that turns into something positive, because as of today, he's the backup running back. Tank Bigsby getting the ones, and then Sean Jackson with his big frame there at 2, with Jarquez Hunter out with injuries. Tavares, I always get that one a little bit caught up. Tavares Dawson. Can you say that for me?
Tavares Dawson.
Thank you. Why didn't I get that first name?
Yeah.
I struggled through that one. I've been through basketball a lot where I didn't have it, but you start getting that hyphen in the middle, and I get quickly confused. But Dawson was a big-time four-star marginal, 5-star guy, big wide receiver get. Like David said, Auburn's play at the receiving core, no matter who it is, will be where a lot of eyes will be today, and Dawson's one of those that a lot of us expect to hopefully take a turn for the best.
Yeah, and you just hope somebody can step up. I mean, that's, I think, has been the most disappointing part when it comes to the team and the recruiting, is we've gotten guys in. I mean, even going back to, 10, 12 years ago, we were getting the number 1 receiver in the country. We just haven't been able to, like we talk about the development, and it's maybe not that the development, we just don't have as many as other people. So when you miss, it's a big miss.
A couple of other names before we head off to another break. Brandon Frazier getting high acclaim for his play, 6'7", big tight end. So we'll see what he brings to the game. Killian Zaire, really big offensive lineman there for Auburn. Austin Troxell, depending on how all of that plays out, I think could end up at the tackle position as a starter. And Jason Jones, another move back, an Oregon guy that ends up out there from Calera High School, defensive tackle, big frame. Can he play well for Auburn? Dylan Brooks is really impressed at a need position. Auburn's got some good pieces with Derek Hall and others. Leota there at that edge position, but needs maybe a third, fourth backup there to come in and get some key play. And Dylan Brooks was a top 100 guy out of high school and was a mainstay there at Handley as Handley won a state championship. And so we hope Dylan Brooks takes his turn for the best as well. Cam Riley and Wesley Steiner are the 2 linebackers that most have been talking about. DJ James, I just mentioned, hoping to come over and take over for Roger McCreary as one of the top corners there at Auburn. Jalen Simpson and others are still there. So Auburn, I think, has a chance to be strong in the secondary again. And closing it out, Caleb Wooden. Really good opportunity for safety and nickel to play well. Zion Puckett, another name that has been talked about back there in the secondary. So Auburn's got the pieces in certain positions. Others are a question mark. Receiver is probably my biggest question mark, along with depth at running back when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. And my biggest question mark that I'd be watching today is linebacker play on the defensive side of the ball. Not a lot of depth there, and how good is the actual talent that we have. We'll see a little bit more of that today. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Brubaker Motors in Montgomery is the largest and fastest growing used car dealership in the River region. You can absolutely get a better buy at Brubaker. It's better at Brubaker.com.
Brubaker, Brubaker.
You can absolutely get a better buy at Brubaker.
BREWBAKER. BREWBAKER.com.
It's better at Brubaker.com.
At C&T Electric, our clients are our priority. For the safety and security of your family and home, our technicians are professionally trained, drug tested, background checked, and wear uniforms with name tags. We're proud to have served the Elk City, Dadeville, and Lake Martin areas for the past 10 years. Give us a call at 256-234-0007 for all your electrical service and repair needs, or visit us on the web at www.cntelectricllc.com and spell out the word "and."
LMG Ad Agency is the go-to vendor for all your digital and print marketing needs. We have in-house production for all projects, including graphic design, web design, social media marketing, videography, and print marketing. Our video production is up to industry standard with modern 4K cameras and drone capabilities. We pride ourselves in client-committed relationships, and every project is personalized to your needs. Visit lmgadagency.com for a free quote today. Let us tell your story.
For almost 10 years, there's been the go-to place for tires and automotive repair, Right Tire. Right Tire sells all makes of tires for anyone's vehicle and anyone's budget, and with Right Tire, you always get the right prompt service with the right price. Right Tire also can handle all of your bumper-to-bumper automotive needs with certified brake service, alignment, oil changes, tune-ups, and so much more. So when you want tires and automotive done right, see Right Tire on West Fort Williams in the heart of Sylacauga. Right work, right price, every time.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
Become a member of the Superior family. Superior GMC Cadillac, Superior Hyundai, or Superior Automotive Pre-Owned. Between our 3 dealers in East Central Alabama, we offer the superior selection and service for any buyer's needs. All with the personal touch of being locally family-owned and operated. Check out any of our dealers online, or our 3 great lots in Anniston on Quintard, or our pre-owned superstore in Pell City, and join the Superior family of value.
Last segment here on the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown. It's been a good one. We appreciate all the phone calls this morning. Still got a couple of minutes if you'd like to get your call in, 256-234-6221. Scott, have you had a chance to watch much of the Masters?
I have. I got to say it in a way because
Yes.
my boss could be watching. But no,
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday, I spent a good bit of time watching the Masters. It was good. Obviously, everybody was excited to have Tiger back, and he does make the cut, finishing at 2 over. But really, the talk of the Masters really is Scottie Scheffler, who's leading. He's 8 under, 5 strokes up. Coming in, he had won 3 of his last 5 tournaments, so he was kind of the hottest guy, and that play has continued. I mean, there's times where you see higher scores in Masters tournaments, but, I mean, I think he could, if he stays on this track, probably 14, 15 under could be his final round or final score. So it's going to be a lot of fun these next 2 days. But glad to have Tiger there. I think that has made it worth watching for sure.
Why has golf struggled so mightily to get a face up there to halfway compete with what Tiger Woods does to the ratings when he's actually part of the tournament? Because when he's not there, it's not that it's a drop-off. Mm-hmm. It's like a precipitous fall off a mountain when he's not involved. It's really odd. I don't know if it's part of the storytelling for golf, but it just doesn't have the luster around it unless he's involved.
Well, I mean, first, just being honest, he's going to bring in different viewership than what golf is accustomed to more than – I mean, and that has been established since –
From a race standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to. And so, I mean, that has been the standard since he stepped on the scene. But I think the difference is when Tiger – like there was Tiger and then there was not even anybody close to him. I think now you have a dozen guys who are pretty much all on the same level who don't necessarily have the personality or have the story to carry the game as a face, but collectively they all are playing. I mean, there's some really good golfers, really good golfers.
Agree with you.
But I think Tiger was just so ahead of everybody else that you were really only watching for Tiger because of what the difference is now. I mean, from Spieth and Johnson and Rory and Brooks Koepka, and now with Scotty Scheffler, Finau, any of these guys. I mean, there's a dozen to 24 guys who at any given time could be the top player in the world. And when it was Tiger, it was just, you knew nobody else could beat him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just have
You're
really
right,
struggled with, what can golf do to get the ratings up there? Because I really do question, from a minority standpoint, how many are actually stopping to watch the Masters. It's not necessarily black, white. I think everybody's engaged with Tiger Woods. I don't know what it is about that guy, but he's one of those guys you just you can't take your eyes off of, and I think part of it is the soap opera around him. It's all the storyline. It's the watching him on the Johnny Carson show all the way through all of his success as a young guy, and then now he takes a dive back, and then he comes back and wins the Masters a few years ago, and you're looking – my age bracket's going, can he win 3 or 4 more? Can he catch Jack? Is that possible?
That's what I was thinking yesterday.
Yeah, and I think that all of that kind of goes into the storyline around him that makes it so intriguing.
And, too, with Tiger, he's so polarizing in the fact that people are watching, too. There are people that don't like Tiger, too.
They are,
so they're waiting to see, they're rooting against Tiger, but you're still watching. So from a rating standpoint and viewership and all those things that matter when it comes to putting in an event on TV, yeah, people are watching Tiger regardless. So it's similar to like a Tom Brady or LeBron or Jordan. He's got his core group and everybody. You've got a bunch of people supporting him, but you best believe there are people watching hoping that he fails. And so that all ties into the drama. But hopefully he can make a little bit of a run today to put himself in contention. But as of right now, Scotty Scheffler really is the guy who's got the best chance for the green jacket.
Masters going on, A-Day over in Auburn versus Vandy. Plenty of athletics going on around in the state when it comes to high school sports as well, as we're getting down to tournament time. Do teams make the playoffs? Good luck to all of you out there, and we'll be right here with the Saturday Sports Countdown to cover it. For Scott Hardy, I'm Randy Lee saying thanks for tuning into the SportzBlitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
So, you finally got the boat, ATV, or side-by-side of your dreams, huh? Then make it yours with marine-grade audio that'll provide crisp, high-quality sound that's loud enough to be heard, whether you're cruising on the lake or hitting a mud hole. Come see Steve at the Car Stereo Shop in Auburn, so you'll be ready to crank up the volume. Whoa, but wait, you don't have to pull out of the water and trailer it to Auburn. The Car Stereo Shop can handle all of your work at any one of the Lake Martin marinas.
Finding a job might be tough, but starting your new career has never been easier. Wellborn Cabinet in Ashland has a wide array of career opportunities with benefits. General labor production, skilled cabinet builders, product assembly line, shipping, over-the-road truck drivers, clerical, marketing, security, daycare, office clerks, and so much more. Apply in person, 38669 Highway 77 South in Ashland, or online at wellborn.com. Building cabinets, building careers, and building our community.
Why is Sarah Automotive Group on Highway 280 in Sylacauga the place for the best deals on your new ride? 3 compelling reasons. 1, with 3 full new car dealers on one lot, you get the best comparison and incentives on Fords, Hondas, and Nissans. Unmatched selection. 2, Sarah pays over market value for your trade to maintain East Central Alabama's best pre-owned vehicle selection and sales. And 3, the Sarah Automotive price won't be beat and delivers lower payments and huge value on your next buy. Shop online or on Highway 280 in Sylacauga.
Tails are wagging and pets are bragging about Zoom to Groom. Columbus, Phoenix City, and Smith Station. Zoom to Groom comes to you. It's mobile pet grooming from the comfort of your driveway. Schedule your appointment now online at zoomtogroom.net or by phone at 334-740-9909.
They say we live in an age of big data, where computers and fancy algorithms are supposed to know you best. But at Country Financial, we know helping you own your future requires, well, something much bigger. Contact your local Country Financial representative and start planning for your future with a personal touch.
Hi, John. You have messages.
Not now, phone. I'm driving.
You know you want to text your friends.
Texting and driving is illegal. No distractions, period. People die that way. Eating, putting on makeup.
Scroll through your music?
Nope.
Your girlfriend just texted. She's bored.
Sorry, not worth dying for.
Good call. She seems a little clingy.
Don't text your life goodbye. Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Are you looking for something really good for lunch? Are you tired of the same old fast food? Well, go to Buck's. Get a meat and 2 sides or a meat and 3 sides for the best deal in town. Buck's always serves up the best food, including fried chicken, wings, hamburger steaks, catfish, shrimp, and yes, of course, the famous Buck Cheeseburger Basket. And Buck's has dinner specials too. So if it's your turn to cook dinner, Buck's will be glad to do it for you. We appreciate your business and look forward to serving you.
Whoever you are, wherever you race, hit the track like a champion. The YZ250F and the YZ450F Monster Energy Yamaha Racing Editions. Only from Yamaha.